When an American CEO fired a Filipino worker, he thought it was just another decision, another name removed from a long list of employees. But he had no idea that this one choice would come back to shake his entire company and change his life forever. Because what he discovered after letting that Filipino worker go would leave him stunned, embarrassed, and full of regret. And this story begins on a normal Monday morning when the CEO, known for being strict, walked through the office reviewing performance sheets and budget cuts, until his eyes landed on the name of a quiet Filipino worker who rarely spoke, never complained, and always showed up early, but whose department was being reduced. And instead of speaking to him or learning more about his actual role, the CEO signed the termination papers without thinking twice. And the Filipino worker, shocked but calm, packed his things slowly, thanked his coworkers, and simply said he understood, even though deep inside he had given his best to that job every single day. And as he walked out of the building for the last time, the CEO didn't even look up. But what he didn't know was that this Filipino employee had been fixing problems silently for months, problems that no one else even knew existed. And the moment he left, the foundation of the company began to crack, because without him, systems that used to run smoothly suddenly began failing. Files went missing, servers crashed, projects became delayed, and customer complaints doubled overnight. And the CEO was furious, demanding to know why everything was falling apart when just a week ago everything seemed perfect. And when the IT manager revealed something that hit the CEO like a punch to the chest, because he explained that the Filipino worker was the one who quietly maintained the entire internal system, protected the network from constant security threats, organized unstable data, fixed bugs at midnight, and made sure everything ran smoothly for years. And he did all this without seeking praise, without taking credit, and without asking for promotions or recognition. And the CEO suddenly realized that he had fired the one person holding the backbone of the company together. And panic spread because no one knew how he did it, where he kept his notes, or how he managed to solve so many problems so fast. And every hour that passed cost the company thousands of dollars. Investors started calling. Clients grew angry, and the media began asking questions. And in the middle of all this chaos, the CEO felt a heavy guilt growing inside him, because he had fired someone not because of poor performance, but because he didn't bother to understand the value of what that worker quietly did. And with no other choice, the CEO swallowed his pride and reached out to the Filipino worker, calling him personally, something he almost never did. And when the Filipino worker answered, the CEO apologized, sincerely, something he also rarely did, admitting that he made a mistake, admitting that the company needed him, admitting that he didn't realize how important he was. And the Filipino worker was silent for a moment, thinking about all the times he stayed late, fixed issues no one thanked him for, and worked hard without being seen. And the CEO, nervous and desperate, waited for his answer. And the Filipino worker, Kalamas, always said he would think about it. And that response alone shocked the CEO, because he was used to people begging for the job, not the other way around. And the next day, the Filipino worker came to the company, not as an employee but as a consultant requested by the board. And the CEO watched as this quiet man walked confidently through the building, greeted warmly by everyone who remembered how helpful and humble he had always been. And he sat at his old desk, opened his laptop, and within hours solved problems that teams had been struggling with for days, restoring systems, stabilizing networks, reorganizing missing data, and bringing the entire company back to life as if he had performed magic. And employees cheered. Managers breathed sighs of relief. And the CEO realized how blind he had been to talent that wasn't loud or boastful, because this Filipino worker didn't show off, didn't brag, and didn't try to outshine anyone. He simply did the work with dedication, heart, and integrity. And that was what the CEO failed to see. And when everything was finally working again, the CEO asked the Filipino worker if he would return permanently, offering him a higher salary, a better position, and more benefits than before. But the Filipino worker smiled, shook his head gently, and said that while he appreciated the offer, he had decided to start his own business, where he could use his skills freely and be valued properly. And that answer stunned the CEO even more, because he expected a yes, but instead, he heard the words of someone who had learned his own worth. Someone who realized he didn't need to stay where he wasn't appreciated. And the board respected his decision so much that they offered him a contract to keep consulting on his own terms. And soon his business grew, gaining clients across states who admired his dedication, humility, and brilliance. And the CEO watched from a distance as the Filipino worker built something far greater than the job he once lost, and he regretted deeply that he had to lose him to understand his value. And this story spread across the company, teaching everyone an important lesson, that sometimes the quietest workers are the ones holding everything together. That humility does not mean weakness. That loyalty is not something to be taken for granted. And that talent is not always loud or flashy. Sometimes it is the person who works in silence, solves problems without being asked, helps others without expecting praise, and shows up every day with heart. And the CEO never forgot that day. The day he fired the wrong person, the day he discovered the truth too late, and the day he learned to treat every employee with respect, because he realized that without that Filipino worker, the company had almost collapsed. And because of that, he carried the regret with him forever. A reminder that one decision, one mistake, one moment of misjudgment can change everything, and that sometimes the most powerful people in a company are the ones you fail to notice until they're gone.